Hello students, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to study about the arterial blood pressure, that is systolic and diastolic blood pressure. What is difference between them, that is known as pulse pressure. We'll be studying about mean arterial pressure also and cardiac output. In this video, I'll try to give you all the formulas how to calculate the pulse pressure, how to calculate the mean arterial pressure, and what is a formula for cardiac output. So see carefully, beta. If you see systolic pressure is the maximum pressure which is reached during the ventricular ejection. Means the peak pressure which is present in the artery at the time when the ventricle is pushing the blood, that is known as systolic pressure because ventricles are going for the contraction. Diastolic pressure is the minimum arterial pressure which occurred just before ventricle ejection start. Means before the ventricle ejection start, the pressure which was present, that is known as diastolic pressure. Understood the difference, beta? One is diastolic pressure is the pressure which is present before the ventricle ejection start. It is the pressure which is present just before ventricle ejection start, and systolic pressure is the one which is during peak ventricular ejection. What is the value of the systolic pressure? Systolic pressure is nearly 120 and diastolic is 80. Now, difference between the systolic pressure and diastolic pressure is known as pulse pressure. The pulse pressure is nothing, it's a difference between systolic and diastolic. If suppose systolic is your 120 and diastolic is 80, then pulse pressure is 40 mmHg. So you can see in this diagram, you can see this is your systolic pressure, check 120. This is your diastolic pressure, you can see 80. And pulse pressure is the difference between them, that is only 40. Up till here clear? Now see mean arterial pressure. First of all, you focus the diagram only. If you see in this diagram, you can see this is the mean arterial pressure. Value is near to the diastolic pressure. Value is near to the diastolic pressure. Clear? Now see. Mean arterial pressure is the average blood pressure in the arteries. Diastole is for the long time. If you see during one cardiac cycle, joint diastole itself is for 0.4 second. So diastole is for longer time as compared to the systole. So it is approximately equal to the diastolic pressure plus 1/3 of the pulse pressure. So this is the formula given. Diastolic pressure is 80 mmHg, you know. Okay, and 1/3 of the pulse pressure. Pulse pressure is how much? Difference between the systolic and diastolic. Suppose here we are finding it is 40. Right now, according to this calculation, we are getting 40, 120 by 80 when you take it. So value is coming to be 93. Is it clear? So mean arterial pressure is the main driving force for blood flow and it can be determined by this formula. Now, if you see, arteries are the one which offer very little resistance. Arteries, especially elastic arteries, they are working as a pressure reservoir. They are not offering any resistance. Resistance is a work of the arterioles. So arteries are the one which offer very little resistance. So negligible amount of pressure energy is lost. So therefore, arterial pressure, which arterial pressure like systolic, diastolic, pulse pressure or mean pressure, arterial pressure is same throughout the tree. Clear? Now, what is cardiac output? Cardiac output is the volume of the blood which is ejected from the left ventricle into the aorta or from right ventricle into the pulmonary trunk in minute. Okay, in each minute. That is known as cardiac output. So cardiac output, how will you calculate? For calculation, you will take cardiac output is equal to stroke volume multiplied by heartbeat per minute. Okay, heartbeat per minute. For example, if you see the person in the resting condition, we are finding that the stroke volume is 70. If your stroke volume is 70, heart rate is 75. So I think so when you calculate it, roughly it will come to 5.25. Okay, you can do this calculation. 70 into 75. Calculation will come 5250 ml per minute, or you can say 5.25 liter per minute. Is it clear? Which is close to the total blood volume. Total blood volume is how much? It is nearly 5 liter. Thus, what we say entire blood volume flows through the pulmonary or systemic circulation in every minute. Another way, how can you calculate the cardiac output? Another way to calculate cardiac output is to divide mean arterial pressure with the resistance. So I tried to give you all the formulas related to the cardiac output by taking the stroke volume and the heartbeat for, or sometimes you can take it with the mean arterial pressure with the resistance. Then how to calculate mean arterial pressure? That also I gave you formula. The diastolic pressure plus 1/3 of the pulse pressure. And how to calculate pulse pressure? That is a difference between the systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. So I hope so this video will be helpful to solve the numerical questions related to these topics. Thanks for watching.